My name is David. I've always considered myself a lucky man. I have a beautiful wife, Sarah, and two amazing kids, Emily and Jack. We live in a cozy suburban house with a picket fence and a perfectly manicured lawn. From the outside, we seem like the epitome of the American dream. Sarah and I met in college. She was the girl of my dreams from the moment I laid eyes on her. We fell in love quickly, and after graduation, we got married. Our wedding day was the happiest day of my life. For years, our marriage was blissful. We were the envy of all our friends, always laughing and holding hands. But as time went on, cracks started to form in our perfect facade. I started to feel restless, like I was missing out on something. Sarah was always busy with the kids and her job, and I found myself longing for excitement. That's when I met her, Rachel. Rachel was everything Sarah wasn't. She was wild and spontaneous, with a fiery passion that drew me in like a moth to a flame. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't resist her. Our affair started innocently enough, a few stolen moments here and there, secret phone calls and texts. But soon, it escalated into something more. I was living a double life, lying to Sarah and sneaking around behind her back. At first, the thrill of the affair was intoxicating. But as time went on, the guilt started to eat away at me. Every time I looked into Sarah's eyes, I saw the betrayal reflected back at me. I knew I was destroying everything we had built together, but I couldn't seem to stop myself. As the months passed, I became more and more distant from Sarah and the kids. I was consumed by my guilt and shame, unable to look them in the eye without feeling like a fraud. But no matter how hard I tried to push them away, they remained steadfastly by my side, oblivious to the pain I was causing them. And then, one day, it all came crashing down around me. Sarah found out about the affair. How? I'll never know. Maybe it was a slip-up on my part, or maybe she just had a gut feeling. But regardless of how she found out, the end result was the same. Our marriage was shattered beyond repair. I watched helplessly as Sarah packed up her things and walked out the door, taking our children with her. In that moment, I realized the true cost of my actions. I had lost the love of my life and destroyed my family, all for a fleeting moment of pleasure. As I sat alone in our empty house, surrounded by the wreckage of my life, the weight of my regret finally hit me. I had betrayed the woman I loved and hurt the people who mattered most to me. And for what? A few stolen moments of passion that meant nothing in the end. I vowed then and there to spend the rest of my life making amends for my mistakes, to try and earn back the trust and forgiveness of the people I had wronged. But deep down, I knew that some wounds can never fully heal, and that the consequences of my actions would haunt me for the rest of my life. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness that consumed me. Sarah had taken the kids and moved in with her parents, leaving me alone in our once happy home. The house felt cold and empty without them. Every room was a reminder of the life we had built together. The family dinners in the cozy kitchen, the laughter echoing through the halls, the bedtime stories and goodnight kisses. Now, it was all just a distant memory, a ghost of the life I had destroyed. I tried to throw myself into my work, hoping to distract myself from the pain of my loss. But no matter how many hours I spent at the office, the guilt and regret followed me like a shadow, lurking in the corners of my mind, reminding me of what I had done. I reached out to Sarah countless times, begging for her forgiveness, but she refused to even speak to me. She had built a wall around herself, shutting me out completely, and no amount of pleading or apologizing could break through it. Meanwhile, the whispers and gossip of our small town followed me wherever I went. Everyone knew about the affair, and I could feel their judgmental stares burning into me every time I stepped outside. I was the pariah of the neighborhood, the man who had betrayed his family and broken his vows. But it wasn't just the judgment of others that weighed on me, it was the knowledge of the pain I had caused Sarah and the kids. I could see it in Emily's eyes whenever I tried to visit her, the hurt and confusion that I had inflicted on her young heart. And Jack, my little boy who used to idolize me, now looked at me with disappointment and resentment. I knew that I didn't deserve their forgiveness, that I had shattered their trust in me beyond repair. But still, I couldn't give up hope that someday, somehow, I might be able to make things right. So I threw myself into therapy, hoping to confront the demons that had led me down this dark path. I spent hours on the therapist's couch, pouring out my heart and soul, trying to understand why I had done what I had done. Slowly but surely, I started to unravel the tangled mess of emotions that had driven me to cheat on the woman I loved. I realized that it wasn't just about Rachel or the thrill of the affair, it was about my own insecurities and fears, the deep-seated belief that I wasn't good enough for Sarah, that I didn't deserve her love. But through it all, one thing remained clear: I still loved Sarah with all my heart, and I would do anything to win her back. Even if it meant facing the harsh truth that I might never be able to undo the damage I had done. The divorce proceedings are a nightmare. Every meeting with our lawyers felt like a battle, with Sarah demanding full custody of the kids and me desperately clinging to the hope of salvaging some semblance of a relationship with them. But no matter how hard I fought, the odds were stacked against me. The judge saw me for what I was, a cheating husband who had destroyed his family, and ruled in Sarah's favor, granting her sole custody of Emily and Jack. Losing custody of my children was like a knife to the heart. I had always prided myself on being a good father, on being there for my kids and providing for them in every way I could. Now, all of that had been ripped away from me, leaving me with nothing but a hollow ache in the pit of my stomach. Sarah was gracious in victory, allowing me visitation rights and even agreeing to let the kids spend weekends with me at the house. But no matter how hard I tried to make those visits special, to show Emily and Jack how much I loved them, it was clear that the damage had been done. They were distant and cold towards me, their once bright eyes now clouded with resentment and mistrust. I could see the hurt in their faces every time they looked at me, the pain of betrayal that I had inflicted on them. I tried to apologize, to explain to them why I had done what I had done, but they wouldn't listen. To them, I was just the man who had broken their mother's heart, the man who had torn their family apart. And as the months passed, that resentment only seemed to grow stronger. Emily became withdrawn and sullen, retreating into her own world of books and music, while Jack lashed out in anger, getting into fights at school and disobeying every rule I tried to impose on him. I felt like a failure as a father, unable to protect my children from the pain that I had caused them. No matter how hard I tried to make things right, it was clear that the damage was irreparable, that I had lost their love and trust forever. But still, I refused to give up hope. I refused to let my mistakes define me, to let them destroy what little was left of my family. I vowed to keep fighting, to do whatever it took to earn back the love and forgiveness of my children, even if it meant facing the harsh truth that it might never happen. Update. Some time passed, and slowly but surely, I began to rebuild my life. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the routine and structure it provided. I volunteered at the local community center, hoping to make a positive impact on the lives of others and maybe, just maybe, redeem myself in the eyes of my children. But no matter how much I tried to bury the pain of my past, it was always there, lurking beneath the surface, a constant reminder of the mistakes I had made. Sarah had moved on, finding happiness with someone else, while I remained stuck in the past, haunted by the memories of what could have been. Yet, in the midst of my despair, there was a glimmer of hope. Emily and Jack, despite their initial hostility towards me, began to thaw towards me, slowly but surely. It wasn't easy, there were still plenty of arguments and tears along the way, but we started to rebuild our relationship, one small step at a time. I made sure to be there for them, to listen to their hopes and fears, to support them in whatever way I could. And slowly, they began to open up to me, to let me back into their lives in ways I never thought possible. It wasn't easy, and there were setbacks along the way, but I refused to give up hope. I refused to let the mistakes of my past define me, to let them destroy the chance of a better future for me and my children. And slowly but surely, that future began to take shape. Emily graduated from college with honors, while Jack found his passion in music, becoming a talented musician in his own right. We celebrated their successes together, a family once more, united by love and forgiveness. Looking back on the journey that had brought us here, I couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the second chance that I had been given, for the opportunity to make amends for my past mistakes, and most of all, for the love of my children, who had never stopped believing in me, even when I had given up on myself. As I watched Emily and Jack embark on their own journeys, I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges and obstacles along the way, but we would face them together, as a family, stronger and more resilient than ever before. And as I looked towards the future, I knew that no matter what trials and tribulations lay ahead, we would always have each other, a family, bound not by blood, but by love, forgiveness, and the unwavering belief that no matter how far we may fall, redemption is always within reach. Update: I met Rachel. After Sarah discovered the affair, My world crumbled around me. The guilt weighed heavily on my shoulders, but amidst the chaos of trying to salvage what was left of my shattered life, I couldn't help but wonder what had become of Rachel. In the days that followed, I tried to reach out to her, to apologize and explain, but she remained elusive, disappearing without a trace. It was as if she had vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but a trail of broken promises and shattered dreams. For a while, I was consumed by thoughts of Rachel, of what could have been, of the passion and excitement we had shared, of the life we had imagined together. But as time passed, those thoughts faded into the background, overshadowed by the pain and regret of what I had lost. I heard whispers and rumors about Rachel, that she had left town, that she had moved on to someone else, that she had never truly cared about me at all. But I couldn't bring myself to believe any of it. In my heart, I knew that Rachel had been more than just a fling. She had been a lifeline in a sea of uncertainty, a beacon of light in the darkness of my despair. And yet, despite the lingering feelings of guilt and longing, I knew that Rachel was not the answer to my problems. She had been a catalyst for my downfall, a temptation that had led me astray from the life I had built with Sarah and our children. And while I couldn't change the past, I could still shape the future, for myself and for my family. So I let go of Rachel, of the memories and regrets that had haunted me for so long, and I focused on rebuilding my life from the ground up. It wasn't easy, there were setbacks and obstacles along the way, but with Sarah's forgiveness and the love of our children, I knew that anything was possible. As for Rachel, she remained a bittersweet memory, a reminder of the mistakes I had made and the lessons I had learned. I hoped that wherever she was, she had found peace and happiness, just as I had found my own. And as I looked towards the future, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would face them with courage and determination, grateful for the second chance that life had given me. Years had passed since the affair, and I had long since resigned myself to the fact that Rachel was nothing more than a distant memory, a chapter of my life that I had closed long ago. But fate has a funny way of bringing people back into our lives when we least expect it. I was walking through the park one sunny afternoon, lost in thought, when I saw her, Rachel, sitting on a bench beneath the shade of a towering oak tree. My heart skipped a beat as our eyes met, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. She looked different, older, wiser, with lines of laughter and sorrow etched into her face, but there was no mistaking the spark of recognition in her eyes. And as I approached her, hesitant and uncertain, I could feel the weight of the years melting away, leaving behind nothing but the raw, unfiltered emotions that had once bound us together. "David," she said softly, her voice barely more than a whisper, but it echoed through the depths of my soul like a long-forgotten melody. "It's been so long." I nodded, unable to find the words to express the jumble of emotions swirling inside me. We sat in silence for a moment, the air thick with tension and unspoken regret, until finally, Rachel broke the silence. "I heard about what happened," she said, her eyes filled with genuine concern. "With Sarah and the kids. I'm so sorry, David. I never meant for any of this to happen." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut, dredging up memories and emotions that I had buried deep inside. But instead of anger or resentment, all I felt was a profound sense of sadness, for the pain and destruction our affair had caused, for the lives we had torn apart in our reckless pursuit of passion. "It's okay, Rachel," I said quietly, reaching out to take her hand in mine. "We both made mistakes. But that's in the past now. All that matters is the present and the future." Rachel nodded, tears glistening in her eyes, and for a moment, it was as if we were transported back in time, to a simpler era when our love was young and innocent, untainted by the harsh realities of the world. And as we sat there, beneath the shade of the oak tree, I realized that forgiveness was not just a gift we give to others, but a gift we give to ourselves, a chance to let go of the pain and regret that weigh us down and embrace the possibility of a brighter tomorrow. As the sun began to set in the distance, casting a golden glow over the world, Rachel and I made a silent vow to leave the past behind and embrace the future with open hearts and open minds. And as we walked away hand in hand, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, united by a bond that time could never erase.
Story 2. Am I the poop hole for rejecting the worst name ever for our offspring? So, my husband, 38M, and I, 36F, are expecting our first child, a bouncing baby girl due in a few months. We were both over the moon when we found out the gender, but now things have gotten complicated, to say the least. See, when we first started talking about names, the boy name was immediately decided, Stuart Jr., after my husband. No problem there, it's a classic name and carries family meaning. But, for a girl, things got murky. My husband suggested Stuarta. No, you're not having a stroke. Apparently, his logic is that since Stuart ends in T, we can just add an A to make it feminine. I tried explaining why that doesn't quite work, how it sounds more like a furniture brand than a human name, how she'd be endlessly correcting people and explaining its origin. He's adamant though, says it honors him while giving our daughter a unique name. I've suggested alternatives, feminine names that maybe share a similar sound or meaning to Stuart, names he's mentioned liking in the past, even just going back to the drawing board entirely. But he's fixated on Stuarta. Now, I love my husband dearly, and I understand wanting to honor my family. But I can't imagine subjecting our daughter to a lifetime of awkward stares and endless questions about her unusual name. I also worry about potential bullying and the impact it could have on her self-esteem. So, Reddit, am I the jerk for refusing to budge on Stuarta? Is there any compromise I haven't considered? Help a soon-to-be mama out. TLDR, husband wants to name our daughter after himself, in a really, really bad way. I think it's terrible and will set her up for a lifetime of awkwardness. Aita? Looking forward to your thoughts and, hopefully, some sanity checks. Edit, please, no suggestions for other Ta names. The man clearly has a theme, and I need to gently steer him away from it, not fuel the fire. Here are some comments that was on the post. Not the poop hole. Naming a child is a 2 yes and 1 no situation. Means you need 2 times yes for a name to be it and 1 no to make sure that name is not the name you choose. Works both ways if you'd ask me. Also, I am not a fan of naming the first name of a child after a parent. Because then the child will always be compared to their parents and need to fight harder to be their own person. I have less problems with the middle name being connected to someone else, parents, grandparents, because that is only a formal name and not used in everyday business. Why is he dead set on Stuarta? I mean, there are so many beautiful names, but he only wants to name his daughter after him? Why not after the mother? Like your name Junior. It is a bit misogynistic to only want to name the baby after the father. Whose last name will the baby get? His as well? Maybe you could find a way, like name the baby with the same first letter as your husband, Stella, Sally, San, etc. Make sure the baby has a middle name if she shares the same last name as her father. Because it will be annoying for simple things like mail and stuff. To piggyback on this, what's his middle name? Could there be a feminine version of that that's less objectionable and actually a name, rather than just a weird mishmash of sounds? Another Redditor wrote. Tell him he only gets 1 kid named after him, so if he goes with Stuarta now, he'll never get a Stuart Jr. And how come it's so important that he be honored, but not you? See how he feels about naming a future son a male version of your name. Remind him that baby names need a yes from both parents or it's a no. You both need to be able to live with whatever you go with. Even if that means both of you are missing out on the one you want most. One more Redditor wrote. Not the peephole. Stuarta sounds like a pharmaceutical product. I can hear the commercials now. In some cases, Stuarta can cause headaches, rashes, and even death. It doesn't have a decent nickname. And no, adding an A doesn't make it feminine in all cases, this is one of them. I'd go for Stuart as a middle name. Now here is the update 2 months later. First, the good news, we have a beautiful, healthy baby girl. She weighed in at 7 pounds 4 ounces and already has the most incredible head of dark hair. Seriously, where did that come from? Labor was a marathon, not a sprint. 18 hours of fun, but the amazing nurses kept me fueled up on ice chips and cheesy encouragement. Now, for the not-so-good news, the name situation. Buckle up, because this might take a minute. Right before pushing started, things got a little heated between me and Stuart. Apparently, the stress of contractions made him even more attached to Stuarta. He was pacing the room, muttering about family legacy while I was doing some very impressive Lamaze breathing exercises. Suddenly, my water broke with a rather impressive pop. Let's just say it startled everyone in the room, including Stuart. The nurse, bless her heart, took advantage of the distraction and very calmly started prepping for delivery. Everything after that was a blur of pushing, encouraging words, and the most amazing head of dark hair emerging into the world. The second our daughter was out, screaming her little lungs out, a wave of pure, primal love washed over me. It was in that moment, staring at this tiny, perfect human being, that the name debate completely evaporated. There was no way I could call this beautiful little girl Stuarta. So, what did we end up with? In the haze of postpartum bliss, I blurted out the first name that popped into my head, the name of the incredible nurse who'd coached me through labor, Ella. Yes, Ella. Not exactly the most adventurous choice, but in that moment, it felt perfect. Strong, steady, kind, just like the woman who'd helped bring our daughter into the world. Stuart, bless his confused heart, just looked at me, then at our daughter, then back at me again. Finally, he let out a shaky laugh and said, Ella it is. Thanks for all the support and hilarious Stuarta comparisons. Here's to sleepless nights, endless diaper changes, and the incredible journey of parenthood. Comments. I'm so happy you guys could agree on a name. Ella is a really good and classic name. But I think you missed an opportunity to name her Stella. Well wishes to you and your baby. Another Redditor wrote. I like Ella too, but I'm surprised OP's husband didn't counter with Stuart Ella or Nutella.